Hi, so recently I've had a bunch of people requesting that I start a YouTube series regarding these absolutely crazy stories that I tell people about just daily things that happen to me. I was kind of, hesitant at first. I was like, oh, I don't know if my life's that exciting. And then this summer I started working retail, and I realized that I have a pretty interesting life after all. So, I figured my first video I would just go right into it and talk about, some experiences throughout retail that I've had. That basically a little background. I live in Gloversville, New York. It's really small, desolate, economically depressed, armpit of upstate. Lots of crime. It's not pleasant at all to live here by any stretch of the imagination. And I didn't think when I came back from school that I was going to be able to find something for the summer, because most people don't want to hire someone for just 3 months. So, but I applied anyway, and I was really hopeful, and I eventually got something. So I was super ecstatic. It's just a retail position. It's at a dollar store. It's nothing fancy. I knew going into it that it was going to be difficult, and that, considering the fact that I started transitioning in October, I knew that I was going to, especially in an area like this where there's a lot of Trump supporters, there's a lot of ignorance, there's a lot of bigotry, there's a lack of education. So I figured it was going to be a little difficult and kind of, really test my patience a lot, and that is exactly what's happened. So, let's cut right to the chase. So, first experience that I had, I'd been working for a couple days. I was finally on the register by myself, and this guy comes in, and I recognized him vaguely from high school. So, I didn't remember his name or anything like that. He was like looking around, and he kept like wandering to the back, and then he would come up to the front, he'd look around some more, then go back, and then he came up. So I was like, "Can I help you with something?" And he leans in and he goes, "Condoms," and I was like, "Oh, Jesus Christ, okay." So I lead him into the contraceptive section, and figured that was the last, real incident I was going to have with him until I rang him out. So he comes up and he looks all flustered, and he's like, "Are those the only ones you have?" And I was like, "Yeah, there's a pretty big selection back there." And he's like, "You don't have Magnum XLs." And I go, "Okay, sorry." And just, kind of turned around and went back to what I was doing, because I showed him more plenty. There's like a whole rack of them. So I'm like, take your pick. It's like a kid in a candy factory. There was tons of them. And he goes, "Well, I need Magnum XLs." And I was like, "Okay, well, I don't really know what to tell you. We apparently don't have them." And he's like, "Can you look in the back?" And I was like, "No, I know we don't have them. I just, we just stocked those." I hadn't really, but I was like, I'm not going to dig back through the boxes to find you Magnum XL condoms. Go somewhere else. There's not dealing with this. So he caught, he gets all flustered, and he's really, getting kind of angry, and he's like, the only ones you have are Magnum, I don't know, he called them something, and he's like, "And they don't fit." And I'm thinking to myself, I've seen videos where they take condoms and they could fit a fucking Mack truck in them. I was like, my friend had sex with you at one point. I remember her telling me about it. Bill Nye couldn't find your goddamn penis with a pair of tweezers and a microscope. So you can deal with what we have back there. Don't go on this egotistical power trip and tell me that a condom that is already, able to fit a human arm inside of it isn't going to fit you, because I know personally that that's not the case. So he's flipping out, and he's like, "I'll just take my business elsewhere." And I looked up and I go, "Okay, bye." And he's like, "Are you serious?" I was like, "Okay, listen to me. We don't have them. We have other ones that I've shown you. I'm not sure what you want me to do." And he goes, "I want you to go back and look." And I go, "Well, I can't do that because I'm doing something else right now. I just stocked those. I'm positive that we don't have any more." And he left in a big huff. And the other day, this woman walks in with her kid, and the kid was probably like 5 or 6 years old. And, they have that saying, from the mouth of babes. And I've never really necessarily agreed with that 100%, because when I was younger, if I said something that was out of line, my parents would tell me. It's just the way that it was. If I said something, they would either say, "Be quiet," or, "Don't say that," or "Shut your mouth," something. So I'm cashing this woman out, and I noticed the kid keeps looking at me, and every couple of seconds she rings the bell, and I was like, okay, you know, getting a little unnecessary. I'm sitting right here. I'm already helping your mom. You can cut the shit now. So she keeps ringing it and ringing it, and then all of a sudden I took the bell and I kind of like just moved it a little bit, and she looks up at me and she smiles and she reaches over and she hits it again, and I think, just, you know, keep going, bitch. You know, I'm about to fucking knock your baby teeth down your throat because I have had a rough day and I don't want to have to put up with this. So, but I didn't say anything. I just calmed down. So, I'm still ringing the mom out because she got an ungodly amount for a dollar store, and the daughter just keeps up her shenanigans. So all of a sudden the daughter stops and she looks up at me, and she looks at her mom, and she looks over at the people next to her in line, and then she leans into her mom and she goes, "That's not a girl." And she said it loudly. It wasn't a quiet comment that she made to her mother. It was loud, and it was loud enough for everyone around to hear. So I was like, okay, you know, fucking little bitch. Not worth it right now. I'm almost done scanning your mom out, and then I won't have to fucking see you again. So, of course, the mother doesn't say anything. She just giggles, and the daughter continued to say it louder and louder, and then, you know, a guy walks in, and she grabbed his arm, or his sleeve, and she tugged it, and she looks up at me, and she goes, "That's not a girl." And I go, "Okay, thank you." And, you know, I didn't want to say anything too aggressive. And the mom laughs and she goes, "Oh, she can be so precocious." And I go, "I don't really find this funny personally, but okay." And she looks at me and got, you know, kind of snotty. And she goes, "Oh, well, is there a problem?" And I go, "Well, it's kind of offensive that you're not doing something and that your daughter's just, you know, screaming that out." And she goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, you know, she's just loud, and she's what was the word she said it? She's free-spirited." And I'm thinking to myself, that's not quite the word I would use, but okay. So I finished, and then the girl starts asking, "Is that a girl? Is that a boy?" And the mom goes, she leans in and she looks at me and she goes, "Will you just tell her that you're a boy so I don't have to keep hearing this?" And I'm thinking to myself, okay, bitch. I'm the one that's hearing it. I'm the one that's being personally offended by it. So I go, no, I won't say that, but you can be a parent and tell her to be quiet because it's kind of embarrassing to me." And she looks at me and she goes, "Oh, well, if you're going to have an attitude about it." And I go, I'm not giving you an attitude. I just find it extremely rude that you're not curbing her tongue, you know? I just thought to myself, okay, you stupid bitch, don't victimize yourself. Don't sit here and try to act like I'm being rude to you and that I'm ruining your shopping experience at a dollar store because I'm telling you how to properly parent your child and, you know, to not speak that way in front of strangers and to a stranger that's serving you. You know, I personally have had customers say, you know, the customer's always right to me before, and that's just not true, because when I'm dealing with someone, when I have a little girl yelling insulting things right there, I personally think I should be able to lash out and smack her teeth into her colon, you know, just do something about it. It's not that difficult. I've dealt with children before. I know that they can say the first thing that comes to their mind, but honestly, I don't think the daughter's entirely to blame. I do think the mother is fully at fault, though. So I finished packing her stuff, and I just, you know, swiveled the, you know, the thing that said the total on it so she could look at it. I didn't even want to talk to her after that. And she kind of tosses her money on the thing, and I looked at her, and I was like, okay. So then the daughter starts ringing the bell again, and I snatched the bell up, and I go, "I've had enough. Please calm down." And she goes, "Please don't talk to my daughter that way." And I go, you aren't telling her to not speak to me in a certain way, so, you know, oh well. So the woman left, and I haven't seen her since, and honestly, you know, I hope she doesn't come back. So another one that I thought was pretty annoying was the other day, I'm ringing this guy out. I was in the back, I was putting up the Halloween display. This guy starts ringing the bell. He sees me coming, he rings it again. Apparently people find that funny. I don't understand why, because it is annoying as fuck. But he sees me walking up, and he rings it a couple more times, and I get up around the counter, and I, you know, start scanning his things, and he rings it a couple more times. I was like, just calm down, you know, just knock it off. So I move the bell, and I go, "Okay, I heard it the first time, you can stop." And I'm scanning him out, and he looks at me, and he goes, "They hire you to make a point, or?" I think to myself, calm down, just calm down. Don't flip out. So I go, I took a breath. I go, what exactly would that point be? And he goes, I don't know, some affirmative action bullshit. And I thought to myself, oh my God, I could feel my anger just like a boiling tea kettle. And I go, what exactly does that mean? And he's like, oh, I don't know, with all these liberals in office now, I thought maybe they hired you to make a point. And I go, well, maybe the point that they were, making by hiring me was to show that I can sit here and deal with the kind of people that come in, such as yourself, on a daily basis, because I've been doing a pretty good job of it so far. And he goes, well, did they see your face when they hired you? And I go, obviously. And he goes, well, I wouldn't have hired you if I had seen your face. And I go, well, actually, they hired me on the spot, so they must have liked what they saw. And he goes, well, I just wouldn't hire you myself. And by that point, I had it. So I leaned in and I go, well, considering the fact that you just paid for discount hot dogs and, candy from the dollar bin with grimy change that you probably collected in the gutter that you were sleeping in, I don't think that we have much of an issue here, because you will never be my boss to begin with, so not really my problem. And he looks at me as if he was like shocked, as if I like smacked him across the face, and he goes, you can't talk to customers like that. I want to talk to a manager. And I go, no problem. So I ring my manager up. My manager comes up, she goes, what's the problem? And this guy, why he did this when he did it, I have no idea. But as he comes up, as my manager comes up, he pulls what I thought was a cigarette out of his breast pocket and puts it in, and I all of a sudden just get this whiff of that smell like he was bathing in skunk piss, and I realized he just pulled a joint out of his pocket and he puts it in his teeth, and he goes, I have a complaint about this cashier here. And my manager goes, okay, what's wrong? And I go, before anyone makes any type of complaint, I would just like to say that what he said to me started and prompted my response to him. And my manager goes, well, what did you say? And he didn't say anything, he just stood there. And I go, he asked if I was hired to, cover affirmative action necessities, and made a comment about my face. And I was like, I find that offensive. And my manager's like, well, did you say that? And he goes, obviously, this person can't deal with a little criticism. And I was like, you made an actual attack on me. You actually attacked me as a person physically and my ability to work based on my gender identity. I was like, that's completely out of line. You have no right to do that. And he's, talking with the joint in his mouth. And she goes, also, I smell marijuana. And she goes, I don't think I want that in my store. I don't have a problem with a cashier that, defends his or herself, but I don't really like the fact that you openly have, an illegal substance right in front of me. And he goes, oh, I have a license for this. And she's like, you know what, I'm sick of dealing with this, just go. Honestly, not a problem. You've cashed out already. Just leave. I just felt sick to my stomach, that someone would say something, because this wasn't a kid making some type of stupid, snide little remark. This was a grown man that felt that it was okay to make that kind of a personal attack while I was doing nothing but cashing out his discount hot dogs and his generic off-brand candy. So I was like, I don't really want to have to see you again. You're absolutely disgusting. Drop dead. Get out of my life. So he left, and then this scabby bitch comes in. And she comes up, and instead of using a, either a push car or a basket, she carried, like, a load of, like, theater candy, like, in, the boxes, like the hot tamales and the Whoppers and the Snow Dots and all those things. She carried them in her two arms, and she's walking up to the thing, and she literally just pulls her arms apart and drops them all down. And I thought to myself, that's charming. And a couple of them fell behind the register, so I had to bend down and pick them up. And I'm thinking to myself, you couldn't have done this a little bit like neater, you stupid bitch. You could have done something to make my life a little bit easier. But I didn't say that. I just, scanning her out, and she had so many that I thought, I'll put them in 2 bags. So, but they weren't heavy, If anyone who's been to a movie theater knows what I'm talking about, they're just the cardboard boxes. They're like that big. So, she goes, can you double bag those bags? And I was like, whatever. I'm not gonna argue. You know, my manager is on my ass all the time to begin with because I double bag whenever anyone asks because, you know, I just figure it's easier than arguing. So I was like, yeah, okay. But apparently the bags that we use are like 8/10 of a cent or something. So double bagging them is like wasting the company money. I don't know. I just do it. Whatever. So I was like, yeah, no problem. And I double bagged her, you know, candy, and I gave her the 2 bags because she was this old geriatric bitch that I didn't, you know, want to make her go around the little bag carousel. She goes, I might need a pack of Marb Red 100s or something. I don't know. I don't smoke. So even when I have someone that orders, or, you know, asks for cigarettes, I have no idea what I'm getting. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to need you to walk over here and show me what they are because I don't have any idea. I don't smoke. My lungs are pretty healthy. So she goes, you don't know what I'm asking for? And I go, no idea. I don't know I know what Marlboros are. I don't know if they're, you know, what size they are. Whatever. I have no clue. So, and I was like, you can point them out to me. You can walk over here with me. I don't really give a shit. Just come. So she acts like it was this big fiasco that I was making her walk around the register to point her cigarettes out. So I'm like, this one? And she goes, yes. So I put it down, and then I'm like, I need to see your ID. And apparently that's an issue for some people. Some people don't seem to realize that in order to buy cigarettes, you need to show your ID. I don't care if you look 90 years old. I don't care if you just turned 18. It is a state regulation. In order to process the purchase, I need to key in your birthday. So, of course, this bitch, because she wasn't already making things difficult enough, she goes, don't I look old enough to buy cigarettes to you? And she goes, I'm 83 years old. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, not my problem. So I was like, yeah, unfortunately, I do need to have the, you know, I need to have your ID. I was like, I'll take a driver's license because, you know, I saw you drive in. If you drove in, you should have your driver's license to begin with. So, you know, and she goes, well, I don't have any form of ID, and she rattles off her birthday, and I go, okay, well, I'm not supposed to do this because I can get in trouble, and I'm more worried about my job than you sucking down a cancer stick, but okay. So I go, I'll key in your birthday this time, but next time you need to please bring your ID if you want me to sell you a pack of cigarettes. And she goes, I don't know why it needs to be this difficult. It wasn't this difficult years and years ago. And I was thinking to myself, well, things have changed because now we realize that cigarette smoking is not a healthy thing. Obviously now we're trying to make it so that people quit smoking because for some reason we want these miserable fucks to live a little bit longer. So I looked at her and I was like, I'm sorry, it's protocol. I need to do it. It's part of my job. And she's like, okay, fine, I'll bring my ID next time. And she goes, hopefully next time I'll get a cashier with a little less attitude. And I'm thinking to myself, I've been nothing but a ball of fucking sunshine to your old scabby ass. I don't understand why you think that I'm giving you attitude because I'm asking you to do something that's required by law. But okay, so I just pushed her bags towards her and I gave her change back. And I go, okay, have a great day. And she looks at me and she just walks out, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, I tried to still put forth positivity into the world by telling you to have a good day after you basically made me want to knock your dentures out. You could have at least said thanks, or you too. But instead, you go out of your way to throw a dirty look over your bony ass shoulder. You know, like, suck the shit out of my sweet Irish ass. I really don't care if you were offended by me asking for your ID. You know, yeah, you look old enough to buy cigarettes. You look like, you know, with all of your wrinkles, you look like you should be ironing your face before you leave the house. But, you know, I just let her go. Got in her car, she drove off. I was like, whatever, you know, I'm not dealing with this old crazy bitch. Whatever. But I don't want to go on and on and on. So, that's it for now. I'm sure I'll have a lot more of these. I actually do have another list that I'm working on right now because it doesn't end. You know, I work about 5 days a week and I have 25 things happen per day that I wanted to talk about. But I thought these were the most interesting and, you know, definitely the ones that were the most worthy of sharing because they were absolutely outrageous and, you know, kind of ran the gamut from like children to middle-aged people to like completely old, you know, geriatrics that seemed like they escaped, you know, the friggin' infirmary to come down and give me grief. But, yep. Anyway, thank you for listening if you got this far. There will definitely be more of these in the near future. So, I'll just, you know, leave it at that for now. Bye.